guys, what's going on? I'm the Tmeister, and welcome back to Timbukton in episode 72 of the series. In this episode, guys, I'm going to be developing an area just by the airport of Timbukton, which will mostly include like office parks and warehouses and logistics centers, things like that. So this entire area is going to be industrial based for the most part. Now, like I said, it's going to be like warehouses and distribution centers, so there's going to be very little what I like to call like dirty industries, you know, like heavy industries and you know, your typical type of industry that is like the vanilla city skylines industrial zoning type of thing. There's not going to be a lot of that at all. But yeah, this overall is going to cover a big portion of the map. Like, just because of the size of the buildings that we're going to be plopping down, it's going to take up a fair amount of space. But this is the type of area that was kind of lacking in Timbukton, I found. So normally in cities, you'll have like these huge office parks, and oftentimes you'll find them around airports, especially airports that are like more on the outskirts of cities. You know, it's a really good place to build these kind of things, of course, because, you know, and of course it's like a really good place to build these kind of areas just because of, you know, there's an airport nearby, right? So I thought this was a perfect location for this type of area. And there's going to be, I'm going to try to build maybe a couple of more, I'm going to try to build a couple more of these areas around town too eventually, because typically cities will have like multiple industrial parks. But, you know, for now, we'll start with this one. And I'm like, you know, it's the first time that I'm building this kind of area with like warehouses and whatnot. So I wasn't really sure how this whole thing was going to turn out. But in the end, I'm like super happy with the way this looks. And I'm sure you guys will like it too. It adds like an extra little layer of realism to the city. Just because of this type of area was missing. Now, when I zoom out from the city, I get a glimpse of like, you know, that whole industrial place, and I don't know, it just adds a little extra touch. And you guys will see that later in the cinematics. I'm gonna make sure to overfly the city and get that for you guys. A lot of you have mentioned that like in the cinematics, you like me to overview the entire city, and I completely get where that comes from too. Like, it's nice to see the progression of Timbukton, to know, oh, okay, so that's how this area looks relative to the rest of the map. I totally get that, guys, and really I enjoy that too. You know, just zooming out, get a bird's eye view of the entire map. And it's kind of like a little confirmation that we are making progress in the city. And I'm actually super excited too, because we're advancing pretty far now in Timbukton County. And we're going to be moving on to Algonquin County eventually for the last part of the map. Pretty much I'd say over half of the map is filled with, I want to say, civilization. So whether it be like little communities and farms and whatnot, we've touched about more than half than the map. I'd say like 60% of the map is covered. So with the exception of Algonquin County, but there's not going to be a whole lot in that county. It's going to be mostly like rural kind of settings, not much roads, and I don't anticipate there being like a lot of farms and stuff like that. So really low density. Once we get to Algonquin County, I think we're going to progress like way faster than we normally are in Timbukton. But before we get to that, guys, we have to finish Timbukton, and this is a huge step in the right direction. As you know, like I said, this occupies a big portion of the map. You guys know just how huge the airport is. It's literally the size of the entire city of Timbukton. So in general, this area is going to look a little generic. So a lot of the buildings are going to be repeating themselves. But in this type of setting, I didn't want to spend a ton of time detailing and whatnot. But on the workshop, there are a ton of like logistics buildings and distribution centers. So like this one that I just plopped down now is made by Avanya, and Avanya makes a ton of really great industrial buildings that include distribution centers. So I'm gonna plop down a bunch of those around this area, different like variations of them. She did make like, a FedEx building and a UPS building and, DHL and a couple of others. So I'm going to place like a couple of different distribution centers, different sizes, different shapes and stuff, just to create a little bit of variation, but a lot of the buildings are going to be somewhat similar. Now this episode is going to be completely featured on the industrial area. However, I did a little bit of work off camera. Not too much, but basically what I did is I created kind of like a buffer residential area between the Timbukton Mall and the industrial area. I didn't want there to be like a sudden transition from residential and the mall and all that to bam, right in an industrial zone. So I just created like a small neighborhood kind of around the industrial area, kind of like as a filler, and you guys are going to notice that in the cinematics later on, but it's nothing too special, just some generic houses and whatnot. Oh yeah, and another thing you're going to see in this area are little office parks. They kind of look like strip malls. These are fairly common in these types of places, so I decided to add a few. There's not a ton of these on the workshop. I think King Leno makes a few and maybe a couple of other people. But anyways, I just make do with what is available on the workshop, and I guess there's a fair bit, so it's not too bad. And talking about detailing, like I said, I'm not going to go too in-depth in this part of town, but generally speaking, these types of areas aren't very, how can I say it? They're not highly detailed. They're mostly like just exactly what they are. Just big giant warehouses, and then you have like, a plot of grass or whatever around them, and maybe like some parking lots and access roads and whatnot. So they're not... You won't find like a lot of beautification around these buildings. So I'm kind of doing on purpose here to make this area like really bland and kind of boring. It's all about the realism, right? Like I keep saying, Timbukton is by no means a special city. Like it's nice, it's a good place to live, but it's not Paris, it's not New York, right? It's what it is. It's what you get. That should be the city's slogan. Timbukton. You get, Timbukton. What you see is what you get. What do you think about that, guys? And so as you can see here, the area is shaping up pretty good. So I'm gonna plop down like some bushes and whatnot like I usually do. So you know, we have like this power line running right through this area, and of course, who's gonna maintain the grass and stuff around a power line, right? So I'm just kind of basing this off of my city. Like, there's plenty of power lines going in and out of town, and they all seem to be kind of like not run down, but not really taken care of. So there's like trees and bushes and stuff that always kind of like prop up underneath them. I have this nice Toyota dealership right over here. So because I was anticipating on having a residential area right across the street from here, that's why I decided to go ahead and place a dealership. It's probably not the most ideal place for a dealership. A lot of times you'll find dealerships around highways or in like super busy spots. But around my city, there's a couple of dealerships that are kind of out of the way and seemingly in the middle of nowhere, but you can tell that for the most part, those are like older dealerships that, you know, have been around for like 50 years. So I kind of tried to do that here. Of course, this Toyota dealership looks modern and renovated, so I guess we could just go ahead and assume that there once was an older Toyota dealership here, and it was since renovated and you know, made all nice. So yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of like decal work and placing a couple of props here and there, like some trailers and just some general cleaning up, I guess. But you'll see in the end, guys, during the cinematics that, you know, this area looks really nice. It adds so much to the city. Although it's like, there's nothing special about this area at all. Like, it's super generic. Now, as we approach the end of this episode, well, we still have a couple minutes left, but I just want to talk about, with the little bit of work that I did off camera for this episode, I kind of got carried away and laid down a bunch of streets for the episodes to come after that. So I want to work on some of the suburban areas around Timbukton, and the reason why I'm so excited about that is once those suburban areas have been filled in with like houses and schools and, you know, whatever else we'll end up building in them, once those are complete, it's going to give the city a look of almost reaching completion. And the reason why I'm really excited about that is it's going to set us up really good to create some road videos, some driving first-person videos, and those are like my favorite type of videos to create. This is like why I started this entire region, was like in the goal of making those kind of driving videos, and I'm sure you guys enjoy them just as much as I do. But yeah, it puts us in a really good position to create those videos, just because like we have to fill in the areas around highways and all that, because, you know, highways are usually the main focus of these driving videos. But anyway, I'm super excited for that, and I'm assuming within like the next 2 or 3 episodes of working on the suburbs, I'm gonna start to pump out some driving videos all around town. You know, the region's gonna be complete to a stage where I can create those kind of videos. So stay tuned for that, guys, because in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna start to work on those. So, you know, that brings us to next episode. I'm probably gonna work on the suburban areas in which I've laid down those streets. Probably for the next maybe 2 episodes, I'm gonna be working on those areas. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a ton of fun to finally get into something different for, you know, it's been a little while since we've been building some suburbs and stuff, so it was a nice welcome change. But anyways, if you liked the video, guys, give it a thumbs up, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel for many more videos like these to come out. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support the channel in another means. And with all that being said, until the next episode, please take care, guys.